This is our bylaws, and that is the Texas statute. It says this is an open meeting. We are elected public officials.
Mr. Chairman, I'll follow up on what I said since I made the motion. My only concern is tapes can be altered, cut, and spliced. My only concern here is that tape. If we have a copy and it shows up different, we know what's going on. And you're right, this gentleman spoke, we're a few days from election, okay? We don't need the Democrats hanging around and looking at everything we do. So I just want to make sure there's a copy, that way we know if something's been altered. That was my only point.
Mr. Rodenbeck, will you provide us, this committee, with a copy?
I will.
Thank you.
My only suggestion was until we really find out for sure legally, so let somebody else go over the bylaws and so forth, if you can write what we want to do, before we get a yay or nay.
Well, the tape will be in the possession of Mr. Rodenbeck, so he's going to have to address your concern.
Yeah, I was.
Well, you'll have to address the concern
Go ahead and read it.
to Todd.
Pick up, I can't hear you. Go ahead and read it.
It'll have to be addressed to, I mean, it's the Open Meetings Act. It's law.
If you want the law changed.
Mr. Rodenbeck, does the Open Meetings Act provide for taping?
I'm sorry?
Does the Open Meetings Act provide for taping?
A person in attendance may record all or any part of an open meeting of a government body by means of a tape recorder, video camera, or other means of oral or visual reproduction.
Thank you for addressing that. Now, do I hear any other concerns or any motions?
When she was reading the bylaws, it said something about moving into executive session. Can we do that?
That is an option, yes.
Point of information. Actually, the law also states that executive session can be tape recorded.
Can be, doesn't have to.
Doesn't have to be, but it can be tape recorded.
But it doesn't have to be.
That is the law of our state.
But it doesn't have to
Doesn't
be.
have
It
to.
can either be tape recorded or the recollection of a person.
Okay. Mr. Dalton?
In the interest of moving the process along, I don't think we're going to be talking about strategies or anything.
That's correct.
And it would be good to get to the heart of why we're here today. I move that we accept the right of this gentleman to videotape with the specification that he provide a full and complete copy to the chair.
That's enough.
That's my motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Do I hear any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. We'll proceed with our meeting. Well, before we get going with the business of the evening, I'd like to ask you to indulge me for a few minutes more of this chair. I'd like to share with you a little bit of historical humor. In today's paper, there's a wonderful editorial. The Democrats are still waiting for the arrival of the next FDR. That, when I saw that, it reminded me of a little decaying piece of paper that I found in one of the pigeonholes of my grandfather's desk. He was an elected Democrat in the 1930s and the 1940s. And I asked my mother about this when I found it, and she said, well, when they had parties or they had company, my grandfather would break out this little piece of news that he pulled out of the newspaper, and he put on his monocle and he would do his best FDR impersonation. And I'd like to share this with you tonight. This is called Rejected, and it was printed in 1938. A stranger stood at the gates of hell, and the devil himself had answered the bell. He looked him over from head to toe and said, "My friend, I'd like to know what you have done in the line of sin that entitles you to come with him." Then Franklin D., with his usual guile, stepped forth and flashed that toothy smile. "When I took charge in '33, the nation's faith was mine," said he. "I promised this and I promised that, and I calmed them down with a fireside chat. I spent their money on fishing trips, and I fished from the decks of their battleships. I gave them jobs on the WPA, then raised their taxes and took it away. I raised their wages and closed their shops. I killed their pigs and burned their crops. I double-crossed both old and young, and still the fools my praises sung. I brought back beer, and what do you think? I taxed it so high they couldn't drink. I furnished money with government loans. When they missed a payment, I took their homes. When I wanted to punish folks, you know, I put my wife on the radio. I paid them to let their farms lie still and imported foodstuffs from Brazil. I'd curtail crops when I felt real mean and then shipped corn from the Argentine. When they'd start to worry, stew, and fret, I'd get them chanting the alphabet with the AAA and the NLB, the WPA and the CCC. With these many units, I got their goats, and still I crammed it down their throats. My workers worked with the speed of snails while the taxpayers chewed their fingernails. When the organizers needed dough, I closed up the plants for the CIO. I ruined jobs and I ruined health, and I put the screws on the rich man's wealth. And some who couldn't stand the gaff would call on me and how I'd laugh. When they got too strong on certain things, I'd pack in head for old Warm Springs. I ruined their country, their homes, and then I placed the blame on 9 old men. Now Franklin talked both long and loud, and the devil he stood and his head he bowed. At last he said, let's make it clear, you'll have to move, you can't stay here, for once you've mingled with this mob, I'll have to hunt myself a job. And that's what they're waiting for a return of. Okay. Now, let's get on with the business of the evening. Our next item on the agenda is the election of a new Nueces County Republican chairman. Do I hear any nominations?
Mr. Chairman, I'm proud to nominate Kimberly Curtis, the Republican Party chairperson.
I second.
Mr. Bowman? Do I hear any other nominations? Going once, going twice? Nominations are closed. All those in favor of Ms. Kimberly?
Chairman, I move that we accept by acclamation.
Here a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Mr. Whiteside?
I can't in good faith vote on this without being sworn in. We were voted in, but I have not raised my right hand and taken the pledge. So as precinct chairmanship, I think there's a couple of us.
Actually, the swearing in is just a formality. It's, you're already a voting member.
It's just a formality.
Well, we had never sworn in people before until Mr. McLean brought this tradition to the executive committee. But according to the election code of the state of Texas, you are already a voting member of this executive committee.
Good enough. Just want that.
Okay. Ms. Lund?
Yes, I've been sworn in by Mr. Bertuzzi.
Please stand.
We've done it before. I'm sorry. Mr. Bertuzzi swore us in.
I have the administration of the oath on the agenda just a little bit down. I'm also hoping that Judge Neal will be able to be here tonight for the administration of the oath. And if not, we will have somebody else administer the oath. Ms. Rose?
Mr. Chairman, just so that certain people maybe cannot come back and say this is not a valid meeting, could we just go ahead and swear people in? To just, so I make them.
Actually, I don't have a public official here at that time. Mr. McLean?
It doesn't require a public official, it is a procedure that is not required,
Okay, I have the oath here.
but anybody can do it.
Mr. Gergovich?
Yes, sir. I've got Commissioner Pusley out here in the hallway. I'd be happy to bring him in here.
Commissioner Pusley, we would appreciate that if you will administer the oath of office to our new county chairman, Ms. Kimberly Curtis, and to the precinct chairman who were appointed last time.
Point of order, the vote has not yet been completed.
We have a motion on the floor.
Motion on the floor.
Would you please restate the motion?
I move that we appoint Kimberly Curtis as the Nueces County Republican Party chair.
Point of order.
Mr. Jones?
I think I would ask if Mr. Dalton would allow those members who were voted in, I'm asking him, would he allow it in his motion, who were voted in, to allow them to take the official oath of office so that there is, in fact, no question of a contested election or improper election. It's not a big deal. Mr. Buckley.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I respectfully honor what Mr. Jones has said. He's always a man that brings wisdom to the floor.
That's
And,
true.
maybe debatable, but let's leave it at that for the moment. Let me reword my motion.
Please.
I move that we nominate Kimberly Curtis as the Republican Party of Nueces County chairperson with the right of voting of those precinct chairs that were accepted at the last meeting and have not yet been sworn in.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Mr. Bryan?
Precinct 101, Aubrey Bryan. For the benefit of those here in our group who may not even know Miss Kimberly Curtis. Not to say we want someone to speak for and someone to speak against, but for the benefit of us that may not know her, maybe she may have the right to introduce herself and tell us about something about herself, or someone here might do the honors of that same respect and leave her be. We have someone who is willing to speak on her behalf.
Mr. Jones?
No, I'm going to do brief. Yeah.
That'll be the day.
Because y'all not paying me to talk.
Are you done?
No, I do know Kimberly Curtis. I've known them for 6 or 7 years. I know her husband, her family, my kids, and my grands have been privy to visit them on their ranch, and he's my doctor, her husband, he's my doctor. And but I know her in another capacity because I do know that she grew up in Cal Alley. My kids all went to Cal High School. Good, wholesome people come out of Cal Alley. But more so, I also know the fire and the fervor in Kimberly Clark for what is America. I know the fervor and the fire and intensity, so much so that Kimberly was willing to formulate and to go out and take the lead and create the Northwest Tea Party. To get Americans who felt frustrated and felt out of the system involved. I do know that Kimberly Curtis recognizes limitations in terms of being involved with this organization. But she is willing to step in to do what she needs to do because her focus is like our focus on winning this election. Yeah. And because of that, with the advice and consultation of her executive committee and the officers that are put in, and with the help of God, I know she'll do a good job. Amen.
Do we have any other comments or observations? Okay, Kimberly, would you stand up? Would you care to say a few words?
Definitely. I'm Kimberly Curtis, and I'm sorry I haven't had an opportunity to meet with everyone. I've been trying my hardest to get through the list, and I know our list isn't complete, but we are really working on making sure all these seats get filled. We know how important it is to have our precinct chairs working together, and when we work together, we get our candidates elected